Good morning, everybody. Meteorologist Jarrett Lansford here to help guide you through the morning commute. It's about 7:35 right now. We've got about 15 minutes. We'll talk about some of the issues that are troubling our travel this morning, and there's really two main ones that you need to know about at this point. And we're going to start with our first one, and this is as you are making your way toward the 144th and I-80 interchange. Earlier this morning, we had a crash that involved a semi that ended up on its side. Now, in the time since then, that has been uprighted, but still working that scene with a tow truck on the scene. And you can see the delays that are impacting mainly southbound, 144th or Highway 50, if you will, all the way back to Harrison. And as a result of that, I would encourage you, if you're trying to come in from the north to get to I-80 eastbound, you may want to consider using that Giles entrance instead. And it's not just because of the delays, it's because it's literally blocked off in that direction. You can see that being the case here in this view. Right there, you can see that that ramp is closed. Still a busy scene on the ramp. Now, if you're trying to get to I-80 eastbound from the south, you're heading northbound, you can get onto that ramp. That is open. You can see some of the traffic right there using the ramp, but it's impacting mainly the southbound travel in that area. We're going to take this full and we'll show you how things are moving in this area here for a little while through the Nebraska DOT camera. So you've been watching the 144th access to I-80, and what has happened here is we had a semi earlier this morning that ended up on its side that has been uprighted. It is right here that you're looking at this taking place, and Nebraska DOT just moved the camera on me as I was trying to draw, but here is our situation here on the ramp. Still moving the camera. I should probably stop drawing while they're trying to move the camera, but this is our ramp, and you can see that there is traffic moving through here. It is traffic that is coming in from the south, coming in this way. You can get onto that ramp. However, northbound or southbound traffic, I should say, cannot get on to the ramp. It is currently blocked right here. You cannot get onto that ramp from southbound 144th or Highway 50, if you will. So what that's meaning for anyone who's trying to travel through this area is that you are looking at big delays trying to get southbound to that area as people get there and then realize, oh wait, I can't get onto the interstate here. And those delays just continue to build at this time. So we zoom out a little bit. You can see that you're looking at estimated speeds on that stretch of 144th that are down into the single digits, basically a parking lot that goes from the entrance ramp at I-80 eastbound back to Harrison. So I would avoid this area if you can, if you're trying to head southbound. Your best option is probably to use this Giles entrance instead to get to eastbound I-80. You can see it is a little slow, but it is moving a lot better than what you've got there as you're trying to get to the 144th interchange, and you can actually use that entrance ramp. So we'll continue to monitor that. I'll first alert you when that does clear up fully and we reopen that. But I do want to briefly talk about our other big problem this morning, and that is on Pacific Street. You likely saw our videos yesterday showing the sinkhole opening up there on Pacific, just east of 67th. Pretty crazy video. If you haven't seen that, make sure you do check that out on our website, firstalert6.com. But as far as traffic impacts, you do still have the road closed in both directions on Pacific between 67th and 66th, and that is closed until further notice. You will not be able to get through that stretch. And technically 67th remains open, but authorities have said they can't rule out that sinkhole growing. So you may consider an alternate route to not mess around with that. And so I've outlined some alternate routes for you here. Your best option for north and southbound traffic is going to be as you're on 72nd. As far as east and westbound travel, you can use Dodge, you can use Center. Center is slowing down a little bit at this point as you're heading eastbound. That does not surprise me. So maybe you move a little bit more toward Dodge. Now, I know some people have to get into that area right around Pacific. As I zoom in here a little bit tighter, you can see you've got some options here. You can use University Drive, Elmwood Park Road to kind of wind your way back toward this area if you maybe need to get into some of those buildings that are back there closer to 67th and Pacific. But as far as using Pacific, that is not possible right now between 67th and 66th. And using 67th itself is kind of not the best option if you can avoid that. It is technically open, but you know, you still have that sinkhole thing kind of hanging over your head. All right, let me show you the overall picture of the commute. If you're maybe looking at some of the other roads that are moving along, how they're holding up this morning. You're seeing a lot of familiar delays, a little bit slow as you're trying to make your way on northbound JFK approaching I-80. That goes back from about I-80 to the Childs area. That's a pretty typical slowdown for this point in the morning. You've also got Dodge right around 168th, another slowdown that we tend to see as we're going into this 740 to 745 window. And then, as we've been noticing a lot in the last few days, really consistently seeing delays each morning between about 90th and 680 as you're heading eastbound, and that's there once again this morning. Even some congestion over towards 72nd. So watch that very busy stretch. That's nothing too atypical, but it is something you want to be prepared for this morning. As far as out of the ordinary delays, it's really all about what we just talked about, the sinkhole there in Pacific and trying to find alternate routes. A lot of those roads that do surround that are holding up pretty well, other than, as I mentioned, Center with some occasional delays eastbound. 72nd a little bit slow right now as you're going northbound. And then the other issue being our turned over semi at the 144th and I-80 interchange. So I'm going to pull this full once again. We'll watch this Nebraska DOT camera for a little bit, and then I will chime in if we do have any more developments. All right, you may have noticed the update that I'm going to tell you here as you're watching this, but we have some pretty big developments with this. We already could access this ramp from the south and turn on to eastbound I-80, but now, if you watch closely, you're going to notice these vehicles right by this arrow I just drew are turning onto the ramp. That ramp has reopened for southbound travel from Highway 50 or 144th, if you will, to get to eastbound I-80. So everything has opened up. The semi is over on the shoulder, so just watch the left shoulder. Still busy seeing there on the shoulder, but all the lanes of the ramp, all the lanes on 144th to get to I-80 have opened up. And with that being the case, that should really help alleviate some of our problems that we're seeing on 144th itself. I'm going to take this full once again, and we'll take a look at the map and where our delays stand, as we've been watching this situation unfold for several hours now with this semi trying to get that cleared off of the ramp. And as we zoom out a little bit here, you're going to notice that we do still have delays that stretch back to Harrison at this point, and that's probably going to take a little time to clear that up some. So if you're heading this direction, you'll be there in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Still probably going to want to prepare for things to be quite slow as you're heading toward I-80 from the north. But that should gradually improve now that we have all the lanes opened back up on that ramp. From the south, it is a little bit slow as well. Nothing too major, but just a little bit of some lingering delays there as well. So, good news, again, we have seen everything open back up after that earlier crash there on the ramp from 144th to I-80. There's another look at the scene. And you can see that there's still a lot going on the shoulder, so be cautious if you're heading on that ramp. But you can use that whether you're coming from the north or the south now. Everything opened back up. So, with that being the case, let's zoom back out and give you a look at what the rest of the metro is doing as far as motion. And of course our 144th delays do stand out there. Those will improve shortly. Dodge delays eastbound around 168th toward 180th. Let's zoom in on that, get a little bit of a clearer picture of what things look like in that area, as my maps allow me to. There we go. So from about 156 or so back to 180th is where you're looking at our delays. This is nothing too unusual. We tend to see this about this point in the morning pretty often. Watch for that being a slow spot that we do have. Pacific, by the way, running a little slowly in that area as well. Center with some delays. So really a lot of our eastbound roads just overall with some delays this morning. Watch for some heavy traffic if you're heading eastbound. Checking back in on the JFK. You can see that those delays are in place from about I-80 all the way now to the worst of it to Chandler, but you do have some delays back to Cornhusker, so be ready for some slow travel there. By the way, if you're wondering, the metro is sitting at or above freezing. We've kept things warm enough that shouldn't really be much in the way of slick spots in the metro. As you get toward the outskirts of the metro, you do see here that we have dipped a little bit more in places like Kennard, over toward Fremont, and Valley's getting close to that area where you need to just watch maybe some of the bridges and overpasses that are a little more prone to having slick spots develop. Those are areas where you'll want to watch for that Blair, Missouri Valley. The metro, though, still holding up in good shape, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. All right, I think with that, you can see that the commute mostly moving along in decent shape, just a lot of our normal slowdowns that are in place. So I think what we'll do is start to wrap up this live stream. Appreciate you joining in for this. You can always catch these about this point in the morning on our YouTube channel, and hopefully you can get some needed information that helps you find the best routes for where you need to go during the morning drive. I'll be live on First Alert 6 in just about 5 minutes with another update, and you can always find the latest updates on our First Alert 6 website where we have our traffic blog. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody.